I've been thinking a lot about the last 30 years as I'm getting close to retirement. How do you describe that? How do you share the highlights? It's quite a challenge. Well, about the time I was 35 years old, I went through a difficult time. And Molly got me through that difficult time. And I started researching the human-animal bond and found an interest in trying to create that experience for other people. I think the thing I'm most proud of is our ability to respond to individual needs, to train dogs to do specific things for people that they could never get from another organization who train in a cookie cutter kind of method of every dog is the same, every dog does these 100 commands. We could make that dog personalized and meet the needs of a particular individual. One great example of custom training is working with a woman named Terry and her dog named Brody. Terry had a severe seizure disorder, and we were training the dog to help with that. And along the way, she said, I have a device implanted in my chest, and when I rub a magnet across that device, it interrupts the seizure immediately, which is very helpful to me. But I completely lose consciousness when I have a seizure. Could the dog somehow do it? And our trainer, Mona, figured out a way to attach that magnet to Brody's collar, and every time that Terry had a seizure, Brody would snuggle with her, rub the magnet across the implant, and stop the seizure just like that. It changed Terry's life.
Brody is pure sunshine, and he makes the bad days bearable.
I mean, that's the personal dimension to it. That's the time when the work comes together with, here's a real live person who's been impacted. And that's why we do it. Well, this is Lucky. Lucky's the first dog we adopted from the Minneapolis Animal Shelter, also known as the Pound. She was just hours away from being put to sleep when we adopted her, and she went on to spend 13 years working with me, demonstrating to the public how a hearing dog helps a person who's deaf. It all began with Lucky. She was dog number one.
This is Marcy Burry and Annie, the very first team that we trained back in 1989. Annie came from the Minneapolis Pound. She was homeless and went on to work for 16 years for Marcy, providing sound awareness in her home. Then 7 years later, we trained the first mobility assistance dog for James Bogart in Winona. The dog name is Chance, also coming from the animal shelter and working for many years to help James. This is David and Riley. Back in 2003, it was the first team that we trained to help with diabetes assist. Diabetes assist dogs are particularly critical because what they do is life-saving. They alert somebody to a low blood sugar before it could threaten their lives. Developing this program is pretty important to me because of one really important, heartbreaking story.
Back in 1994, I was placing a hearing dog with a woman named Carol, a little dog named Susie, a little cute white furry dog. And I happened to be at her apartment for our final test. And as I was leaving, Carol stopped me and she said, I have type 1 diabetes, and that means that my blood sugar drops very low, to the point that I worry that it could drop so low that I would die in my sleep. And could you train Susie to wake me up when my blood sugar drops low? And I kind of scratched my head and said, geez, I never heard of such training. I don't think it can be done. I think it was about 6 months later, we got a phone call at the office that Carol had died in her sleep with Susie sitting next to her. And I felt terrible. There was really nothing I could have done, but I felt responsible. So after Carol passed away, I started looking for ways to learn how to do this, but really nobody knew how. And then we heard about an organization in California that had figured it out. Or at least so they said. So we went to them and said, wow, we really want to do this here in Minnesota. Can you tell us how to do it? Share the information with us. We were both ADI members and thought this would be something they could share. They would not tell us. Later on, when we finally figured out how to do this and how to do it in unique ways, we decided to share it with all the members of Assistance Dogs International. We invited them here to our facility. We had 95 people come from around the world to learn our methods of how to train a diabetes assist dog.
This is Zona and Jordan, the very first seizure assist dog team. In 2007, we trained the very first autism assist dog here for Sam Schuler and his dog Reno.
I think a really important point was when we began training dogs in prison. The dogs that come out are amazingly trained and well loved too. And the dogs have impacted the prisons as well, so that the inmates are benefiting in really special ways. I think the thing I'm going to miss most is being able to visit with the graduates at graduation on the day. Being here and going person to person and being able to ask them how their dogs helped them, hear a little bit about how the dogs changed their lives, and have them thank me for giving them the dog. Which of course, it wasn't just me, but that personal contact, which I don't get a lot of anymore because we grew up. So I'll miss that. You know, even all these years later, people still say, "Hey, Al, this Can Do Canines, this is your baby." And I've come to begin saying to them, well, it's not really my baby anymore, it's our baby. It's staff, it's volunteers, it's contributors, all the people who come together to make this happen. I know they'll do a great job because they've been doing a great job up to now, and they've all taken the mission to heart. Well, about 2 weeks ago, I sat down and cleaned out my office and took down all my pictures, personal, business, all the dogs that had served me across the years, and different awards I'd received, and put it all in boxes, carried it out to the car, and then I sat down at my desk, and it was sad. It was over. So there's definitely a sense of loss, saying goodbye, and a certain level of trust that it's in good hands. You know, a lot of dedicated people are here doing the work, and we'll carry it forward.
Good girl, let's go.